The biggest difference between BD and sales is that BD precedes sales in the process of growing a company and a business. The main function of a BD professional is to identify a potential transaction or relationship and repeat it as many times as possible in different iterations. Once a particular type of deal has happened a few times, a BD professional's job is to standardize the process and turn it into something that can be handed off to a sales team, whether the BD professional helps build out the sales team or not. Sales professionals, conversely, are hired only after a steady source of revenue has been identified and scaled to clients en masse. Once you have a sales team in place, there are goals concerning how many emails and calls they are expected to conduct, conversion of pitches to deals, and quotas, a specific number that you need to achieve in order to perform well. Sales professionals don't identify creative opportunities outside of their domain of expertise. Rather, within the confines of their mandate, sales professionals work on tweaking their sales pitches or tailoring them to the appropriate audience. Matt Van Horn, former vice president of business at Path and at Dig, jokes that BD is sales without a quota. I see BD as the business problem solver for an organization that often does many hard-to-measure projects, but also plenty that are easy to measure. But overall, BD fixes things. It solves problems. To illustrate Van Horn's point, imagine a payments company that has a great product that works extremely well for the education space, particularly tutoring. Once this niche market has been identified, the BD individual would seek to close deals with a targeted number of tutoring companies. Once she has proved the concept and the fit, the company might consider hiring a sales team focused on the tutoring vertical segment to bring on tons of companies. The company will have language and a process formalized, goals will be set, and compensation based on performance will be put in place. Andy Elwood, who was the vice president of sales at Marquis Jet before running business development teams at Gowalla and Waze, also believes that the distinction between BD and sales is about the goals and the end result rather than the skills required to do the job. I am less and less convinced that there is a difference between BD and sales, just different deliverables as to what is considered a sale. BD efforts typically have a longer timeline to close and more variables to work through in a product offering to get to a yes. Sales efforts are more easily replicated and can lead to a decision more quickly because the product comes as is. But aside from timing and the measurable ask, revenue or distribution, it is all just a different take on the same skill set. And what happens to the BD person? He or she becomes a trailblazer for another industry or type of partnership and starts the entire process again. At the most basic level, BD requires a bit of creativity. Sales, on the other hand, takes a pre-existing model that has been proven through a number of deals and can be quickly replicated by a team of employees. How BD and sales differ at different types of companies. As we saw in Chapter 2, Types of Business Development, BD and its relationship to sales depend on the type of company. We mentioned previously that BD roles at B2B companies are scarce. Sales positions, on the other hand, are slightly more abundant. This construct is intuitive given the nature of the business. Selling a product that businesses use and almost always must purchase means that there is a scale required that involved many salespeople. By contrast, B2C companies that seek strategic distribution partnerships have a serious need for a BD professional before they hire salespeople. Indeed, a company's founder often takes the helm when it comes to strategic partnerships for early-stage B2C companies. Sales comes into play later in the game, especially when the company has an advertising-based monetization platform. Google, Facebook, and Twitter, for example. A B2C company might use strategic partnerships for the purpose of testing out different avenues of distribution before spending time on putting together a sales team and achieving sustainable monetization. At B2D or B2B2C companies, BD is crucial early in the